All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How is it going? I am Is There No One Else? And in today's video, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about one of New World's largest updates that they revealed to us this week. Now, I'll be honest, this caught me a little bit off guard because in a couple of days, we'll be hearing their big announcement. The Cliff Notes, for those of you guys that don't know, they had their roadmap last year and they executed roughly half of their roadmap. And it was good. It was good. Last fall was the most fun I've had playing any MMO in like the last 5 years. I had a lot of fun playing it, but the update stopped coming. And for endgame players, a lack of expeditions, a lack of trial content, a lack of OPR maps, a lack of arena maps kind of left people like, okay, are we going to get some more stuff? And we haven't gotten any. Now, there's a lot of belief out there that there will be a console release coming in a couple days, or a console release announcement in a couple of days, which will bring a large influx of players back into New World. You're drawing from PlayStation and Xbox. I think all this makes sense. People that I know, they said that the Elder Scrolls Online, when they had their console release, ESO functioned in a very similar way to what New World is. So we are of the belief that there will be a console release, and we'll find out later. There's also been PTR posts about there potentially being an entire zone that is free-for-all PvP, which for me as a PvP enjoyer, I'm looking forward to it. I've been having an itch to come back and play New World for the last couple of weeks now, but the population is just so low, I don't know how easy it would be for me to get fights. So I'm hoping that this announcement this week is a good one. I really am, and I will cover it when we get to it, because yeah, I really want to play. I really want to play, but I want to see some new stuff. So all that is happening later, but today, or on June 3rd, they announced their 5.0.2 New World update. And so you're getting this Rabbit's Revenge, and then they wanted a discussion on how they're introducing shards into New World. So we're excited to introduce shards, a new server technology coming to New World. What are shards? Shards are duplicated segments of the game world designed to better manage player populations. Each region or zone within the game has population limits. By seamlessly duplicating these segments into new instances, we can accommodate more players in the same space without affecting game performance or the user experience. You won't encounter loading screens when moving in and out of sharded areas, and will typically be unaware that a shard is present. Initial rollout. For the initial release, shards will be implemented for the starting beaches and settlements of Monarch Bluffs and Windsward. This will help us accommodate new players and reduce queue times. Based on technical performance and player feedback, we may expand shards to other regions of Eternum in the future. So this makes sense. Once again, coincides, in my opinion, with a console release. You're expecting a large influx of new players with your announcement. You want to make sure it works very well for those new players. We all know when the game first released, there was lots of performance issues. Last fall, I didn't really experience any. When everybody came back for all of the artifacts and everything, I only had a few bad instances of performance in my hours upon hours of playing, and that was doing influence races. I had some laggy points during influence races, but in towns everything was fine. OPRs, I never lagged. I never really experienced any issues. So a lot of this shard information really, it's like, okay, well, what's the point? It doesn't really, like, the game already works relatively well. That's not the biggest issue with the game, but this is, in my opinion, potentially hinting at the console release. Impact on gameplay. We aim for seamless gameplay whether you're in a shard or not. Here's how shards will work. Social connections. If you're in a group, you'll be prioritized to stay together in the same shard as long as there's capacity. Solo players. Paired with friends or company members in the same shard when possible. Joining others. To join someone in a different shard, be in the same area and select Join Shard from the social menu. Social interactions. Area chat. So your area chat will be limited to players within the same shard, while global chat remains unchanged. So if you want to reach out to everybody, use global chat. Okay, this makes sense. Proximity actions. Activities like trading, music, and dueling require all participants to be in the same shard. Player versus player. Dedicated PvP shard. Each area has a single shard for PvP to ensure fair play. Okay, this makes sense. So like, if you're flagged for a PvP event, it will have its own shard for that entire area. PvP flagging. Players flagged for PvP and non-PvP shards will transfer to the PvP shard. Okay, so make sure everybody's all lumped into the same area. Initial implementation. Sharding will be limited to Monarch's Bluffs and Windsward initially. Expansion to other zones will depend on feedback and performance. So, Looks like they'll be slowly rolling this stuff out. This does make sense. You're going to have a lot of players back potentially, and keeping the players that are PvP'd, like for an influence race in Monarch's Bluff or Windsward, keeping them separated and all the things that they're doing separated from everything else that's going on in the area makes a lot of sense from a performance perspective. I think this will help quite a bit for the few times that I did have lag. Camps. How camps will work. Camp locations. Camps remain in the shards where they were placed. Recalling to camp, you can recall to your camp location without being forced into its shard. And shard shutdowns. If a shard with your camp is shut down, the camp will be removed and you'll be notified. Stay tuned for more updates on shards as we refine this feature based on your feedback. So this will be a slow rollout by everything for all intents and purposes for what they're writing here. It will not affect every area. It will initially affect the startup areas. And so I'm guessing once the new influx of players start branching out, they may introduce more sharding as the game goes along. Sharding, guys. There's a D in there, not a T. But yeah, it's when I first heard about shards, I was like, okay, what's the big deal? My performance has already been really good in New World. My reason for not playing is content. There's just not content coming out right now. They've been quiet for obvious reasons. I'm obviously not angry at Amazon Gaming Studios or anything like that. It's just, if there's no content, there's nothing to play. And so I've gotten bored of just the current content. And so although they were updating shards when I first looked at it, I was like, okay, cool. I mean, there's very few instances of performance. This isn't what's holding people back from retention in your game, right? And we'll figure out what more they're going to announce in a couple of days here, obviously. But this isn't a bad thing. This isn't a bad thing. This is a nice little precursor. Potentially, are they... And this is just something I thought of the more I talked to a few friends about it. But if they're going to do shard instances for PvP, does this mean potentially their servers are going to increase in population? I think having the servers the way that they have them, although it makes sense from a performance perspective, it's really struggles sometimes with the liveliness of the world from a PvP perspective. Now, before they did cross OPR, I've talked about this in other videos, but before they did cross server OPRs, I would notice that the map that I would play on, Lilith, would die around 11 p.m. to midnight my time. People would hop on, they'd do arenas, they would do OPRs, and then you'd get to a point to where there just weren't enough people to fill with OPRs and everybody would log off. And so then it would just be tough for people to find fights. And so there was just instances during the day where that would happen. And I think a lot of retention in New World struggles in that regard, because if you can't find people to do expeditions, if you can't find people to do arenas or OPRs, you're playing a massively multiplayer online role-playing game without having people to play with. And so I think server population has often been part of the issue that New World has had. And what I noticed when they did cross-server OPRs, it changed quite a bit. The game started running quite a bit longer because people that wanted to stay on a server and they wanted to play OPRs later, they were able to. They were able to stay on later. They were able to stay on and get OPR maps. And because of that, the activity in my individual servers got better because people were on later. They were able to find games. They were able to interact more. And because of that, the server stayed alive for longer. And so this sharding has interesting effects. Obviously, I still think they should do cross-server arenas. I think they should still incorporate everything they talked about before. But if they are hypothetically going to shard zones, like if this new potential PvP zone is going to have its own PvP shard, it may benefit them to increase population, to have a higher server amount. That way, the PvP zone is running more often. Because PvP, obviously, if you're fighting other players, if you don't have a population to support it, unless it's a cross-server island for people to participate on, you're going to struggle with population on any one server. Some servers just die off quicker. Some servers just don't hold a population, and people are going to, have issues with that. And so I don't know if this is true or not. Obviously, I just hope that it is. But yeah, whether you do cross-server, whether you do increased population, sharding is a potential way in order to allow that to happen, to go to a larger server. But we'll see. It's just wishful thinking, I guess. But I'm going to end this video here. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm not? But yeah, overall, not a bad thing. I am really looking forward to their announcement here in a couple days. I will also do a video covering that as well. So yeah, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a nice day.